What's going on, guys? Anthony with July's Aquatics and Gardening, and welcome back to another video. So today I actually didn't plan on filming anything because I've got a lot of yard work that I need to be doing. I'm actually supposed to be cutting the lawn right now, but I'm not, because I stopped to plant up this container right here behind me, which my wife and I just purchased yesterday at a store that just recently opened up in our area. So I have it all hooked up on drip. It's galvanized, and I did drill 5 holes in the bottom of it. And I am going to be planting it up with some annuals and some herbs that I purchased this past spring. I just recently created a playlist on my page called Container Gardening, where all of my container gardening adventures and things of that nature will be there. So if you have not checked out that video or any videos in that playlist, I'm going to leave a card here so that you can go ahead and watch those videos. I did plant up a hanging basket, which I'm looking at just off to my left, which was one of the first containers that I planted on this channel, and it came out really nice. So let me show you what I'm going to be planting. There's a bee right behind me, and it's kind of freaking me out. I'm going to be filling up this container with the potting mix that I blend myself. It's also the same potting mix that I use in that hanging basket that I planted up. And again, if you haven't seen that video, head to the Container Gardening playlist so that you can kind of see what, I put in this soil mix. I don't actually blend it up on camera. I just go over what's in it. And one of these days, I will blend up a batch of my container mix and let you guys know what I have in there. But I'm going to be planting some Super Bell's honeyberry. And I have this, and a branch just broke off. I have this Neptune's Net Coleus, which can take sun or shade. 18 to 24 inches tall, 12 to 18 inches wide. This is a German thyme. I've also got one that's just labeled garden thyme. It's hardy in zones 5 to 9, so this should live in this container just fine as I garden in a zone 7. So let me fill up my container with my potting mix, plant it up, and then I'll let you see what it looks like in the end. Guess what? I'm gonna need more. So I guess I'm gonna be showing you guys how I blend up my potting mix. So let's go in the garage and I'll show you what I put in my potting mix. I didn't even realize I didn't have enough. But I guess I'll be showing you how I make my potting mix. First thing I'm going to use is Leaf Grow. It's 100% organic compost. And I think it's a product of Maryland, and it has high humus content. So pretty much what I do, I just get my big scooper and I just go by air, go by feel. And I normally make just a little bit more than I need, just in case. So that's my base layer there. That's my base layer. Next is peat moss. I always keep peat moss soaking in rainwater because I use it for my carnivorous plants. So it's easier to have it soaking in rainwater more than anything else. So I'm going to be squeezing some of this dry and adding it to my mix. Peat moss is really hard to hydrate, so that's why I always keep it soaking. If I don't have peat moss, I'll use coconut coir. Sometimes I'll use a mixture of both. If I don't have peat moss, I'll use coconut coir. Sometimes I'll use a mixture of both. I do prefer coconut coir, but I don't have any right now, so I'm just going with peat moss. I don't know if I had completed my thought, but I was saying that peat moss is really hard to hydrate, and when it gets dry, it gets dry. So when you're planting in a mix that has a high peat content, you want to make sure that you have a plan to keep those plants hydrated, unless they are succulents that don't like a lot of water, like sempervivums, some types of sedums, and also cactus. I think that might be good. So luckily, I'm fortunate enough to live in an area where I can get some of these things at my disposal for pretty cheap. So I just generally buy them in bulk and then keep them in my garage and mix them up as I need. Next thing I add is pine soil conditioner. This is also for drainage. You can see it there. It really adds to the drainage. It helps keep the soil mix nice and loose. I don't like to add too much because I don't want it to be terribly chunky. And then I always follow that up with perlite. And I don't buy the Miracle-Gro perlite because it has Miracle-Gro fertilizer in it. And you see, I just dumped that carelessly and willy-nilly. And again, I use these things. Sometimes I blend up a big batch minus the pine bark for my carnivorous plants, and you can't put fertilizers in those things. Next thing I add is chicken manure. This is by Espoma Organic. I don't add much. I like it. I have it on hand, so why not? So as you can see, that's not very much at all. I also add about the same amount of biotone. Hope you can hear me. And again, I get it in a big bag. Next is my Osmocote. Now you might say, and I say also, that adding biotone and Osmocote is kind of overkill. But that's the way I do it. So I also add in like kelp meal, but I'm out of kelp meal right now. So the next thing I'm going to add is some worm castings. I bought this from a company called Boogie Brew. Woo! It's kind of a lot. You don't have to add that much, but having some of that content in there is pretty necessary. And then I just go to town, mix it up. And again, it's cheaper for me to do it like this and fill my containers up than to buy bags and bags. Sometimes I'll add vermiculite. It all depends on what mood I'm in. I do have vermiculite here, and I typically don't mix. I typically don't mix it. I like to get my hands in there, squish it all up. I was trying to keep my hands clean for the camera. But as you can see, it's easier to do it this way. Now I do feel like I'm missing something out of this mix here, but that's all right. This will more than do for right now. So as you can see, it's really nice. And I like to do the squeeze test. I like to squeeze it, make sure that it holds a form but as you can see, it breaks apart really nicely. So it will hold moisture, but it won't compact and become super tight. Back to our container. The bees. All right, so I left my scooper in the garage, but my hands will do quite fine. And I like to make my mixes with a lot of drainage because, especially with these super bells that I'm planting that like to dry out between watering, I like to make sure they won't become too, waterlogged, especially because in my area, especially in the summertime, I have to run my drip system at least twice a day. Now, I did buy plants with the intention that you would be able to see this container from both sides. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. However, I'm still going to plant it pretty full. And obviously I put way too much soil in here, as I usually do. But I think this is going to look really, really nice. And let me know what you think about this container combination. Have you planted herbs and other types of edibles in with flowers before? And if so, tag me on social media so I can see what your planters look like and I can draw inspiration from what you do. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below and let me know how you think this turned out. And I will see you in the next video. God bless and take care.